Hi all, my name is Samantha and I am a teacher at the FLS International Center at Tennessee Tech University in Cookeville, Tennessee. The activity I've chosen for this presentation is the cocktail party, exploring nonverbal communication, and that was found on page 80 of the text. I chose this activity for two reasons. The first reason was because of the class that I had chosen to use for this activity. Originally I had planned to use my core class, but with our scheduling and with the amount of information that they need to be given in a short period of time, I realized that it probably wasn't a feasible option for me. So I ended up choosing my workshop class. And my workshop class is an intermediate workshop. That means it's levels 4 through 6. And the idea of the workshop is that they are supposed to come in every day and there be some variety of activities, sort of a break from the monotonous routine that happens between core class and electives. So every day we have a different theme that they chose at the beginning of the term, and every day they come in with something different, with a different topic. So I knew that I needed something that didn't require any previous work because they're not allowed to have homework and they're not allowed to have any kind of test during workshops. So I knew I needed something that could be done in a short period of time, but that also gave them substantial information and would give them the ability to communicate with each other. The second reason I chose the activity was actually because of something that happened 2 or 3 weeks before I started looking through the book. A new student had come in. He had been at school maybe 8-10 hours. He was very jet lagged. And when he came in, we were doing a conversation activity. And I remember watching him as he was talking to one of the other students. And what I noticed was that he became very uncomfortable when the other student got a little bit too close to him. And I just remember that sticking out in my mind as something, oh, this might be something that we should cover later at a later date. And it stuck out in my mind. So I decided that when I was looking through and I saw this activity, I said, okay, this is definitely what I would want to do with these students. Because I do have I won't say that it's a great mix of students, but for our student population, which the majority are Saudi Arabian students, for the population that we have, my workshop is very mixed. We have a few Korean students, there are a few Saudi Arabian students, there are some
range from
Colombian
17
students,
until their early 50s.
and so I knew that something that would maybe mix different nonverbal communication styles
I do have
would
some
be
that are here for graduate degrees and a couple who are here for their PhDs. And I also have a few who are only here for their jobs, or they're here to learn English for a year or 6 months or however long the duration is, which I find extremely interesting. However, that does come with a motivational difference in a lot of the classrooms, and that can be a big challenge in keeping the students all on the same page or just trying to meet the motivations of each student. But for the most part, the workshop that you'll see, they all seem to mesh very well together. They work hard for the most part, and I really enjoyed having this group of students. The activity itself, I intended it to be a critical look at both the students' nonverbal communication style and also their partner's nonverbal communication style. I'll notice when they're communicating with each other or they're doing an activity how they'll either match their partner's nonverbal communication style or they'll move away from their partner's nonverbal communication style. And I always find it really interesting, so I thought it might be an interesting perspective that possibly they could gain further insight from for any interactions that they may have in the future.
Okay, we're going to talk about nonverbal communication today and how that can be affected in discussion. what I've given you is a small piece of paper. Do you have your small piece of paper?
Yes. Of course.
I want you to take a second and I want you to read over the task on your slip of paper and ask if you have any questions. So take a second, read over your task. Does anybody have any questions?
No.
You got me? Yeah. Okay, good. Now, what I would like you to do, there is a question on the board. Could you read the question for me?
What do you think about FLSTTU?
What do you think about FLSTTU? Now, I've put you into groups of 4. This is one group of 4, and this is one group of 4.
Yeah.
What you're going to do is you're going to discuss this question together while also doing the tasks on your slip of paper. So whatever your task is, while you're talking to that person, you need to also be doing the action. Okay?
Okay.
All right, so what should you be doing?
Our task.
Your task. During just while?
During the
During the discussion. Okay, so what I would like you to do is go ahead and stand up. Okay. And come to the empty area right here. And go ahead and while you're discussing, I would like you to complete the task on your piece of paper. I'm going to give you 2 minutes to complete the discussion while also doing your tasks. Okay? Be sure that you're paying attention to how your partner is acting. What actions are they doing while they're talking to you? Because we're going to use that in the discussion. Go ahead. You have 2 minutes.
What do you think? But, in my opinion, even though I'm very satisfying about the education or teachers or anything related with studying, but it's too expensive about homestay or like dormitory and class fee. So I have a little bit complaint about the kinds of price.
So expensive, but
How about you?
good. Okay. Actually, what about my FLSTTU? I learned so much because they teach me a lot of things, like English.
Just I want to add the points.
You know how to speak,
You need more
how to speak.
reduce the amount for the month.
Anyone
I meant just maybe
No.
it's okay for me because I really need the money, so I need discount for my
to anyone
for the course.
Like European, Japanese, Korean, anyone can speak, you know? So that's why I like it.
Okay.
What about you? Tell me about you.
I think this school need more points.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, more activities.
I do not know.
Yes. So, actually, I think it's not my cup because not my cup of tea. That's not because I think my opinion. It's just for you. Yeah, so and it's education process. I find everything. And you realize no.
Yeah.
And his job is
Overall, I do think the activity worked really well, and I'm really happy that it's what I chose for this presentation. The students during the activity were engaged and they worked really hard, and even now, a few days after Students will come up to me and talk to me about it, or in class we've had a couple of things brought up from the discussion that we had after the activity ended that just signals to me really that it was a success, and I do appreciate that. My biggest concern with the activity was just how far some of the students felt that they needed to go outside of their comfort zone to accomplish the task set out for them. There was one card that with the tasks, I took some of the tasks from the text, but I also adapted in some of mine that I had noticed from students in previous interactions, things that they had done. And one of the tasks that seemed to really make them feel uncomfortable was standing in a close proximity to another student and having their hand on another student's shoulder. There was one student in particular who I knew he had the card that had the shoulder touch on it, and I would notice him look down and then look back up and look down and then look back up at his card, and you could tell that he was a little bit tense during the activity. And I went over to him and I talked to him a little bit and just said, "Are you okay? Is this okay?" And he said yes. But throughout the entire duration of the discussion, he accomplished the task, but it was only a 2 to 3 second duration, and even then you could still tell he was pretty tense. There was a second instance with the same task where a student walked up to another student and put his hand on that other student's shoulder, and very loudly the other student laughed, and it stopped the discussions on both sides pretty quickly, but it was a funny bit, just how uncomfortable he felt being touched on the shoulder.
Whether
Yes. So, actually, I think.
So overall, I really enjoyed what came out of that activity. And one of the biggest positives about the activity was definitely the discussion that came after the activity. And the students really went very deep with how uncomfortable they were with some of the tasks and how they felt about the tasks, and just where maybe those aversions to certain kinds of nonverbal communication comes from. And even now, I have one student who he comes back and he says, "I think I really don't like this because of whatever reason he gives me." And just having them think about that and having them try to gain a deeper perspective on how nonverbal communication can really shape the way that a conversation occurs is interesting, because a lot of the times when students first come here, they don't really think about how their own communication styles can be perceived by other people from other cultures. And the best part about this job specifically is just being able to see students where they are when they first come in, and then see them where they are 2, 3, 4 months down the road when they've made friendships with people from other cultures and their communication styles tend to change a little bit. And I think part of that comes in just realizing that other people have different nonverbal communication styles, and maybe they're not wrong, but maybe they're just not something they're used to, and eventually they kind of adapt to that. And that's something that I definitely think they gained from this activity, and something that I really appreciated about this activity. So overall, yes, I would use this activity again. I would change it a little bit, probably adapt some of the tasks to, of course, fit the classroom itself. But as a whole, the frame of the activity would be something that I would use in another activity in the future. Thank you for watching, and I hope that you enjoyed getting to experience a taste of this activity.